What is up, everybody? Welcome to another lesson. Today, we're going to be talking about candles. Now, before we jump into it, I want us to understand one thing. Candles are not just bars on a chart, right? They're not just lines. They're actually trying to communicate something. They're trying to tell us a story. So, for example, on a chart, as you can see, we have different time frames. We have the daily time frame, the weekly time frame, monthly, 5 minute. Now, you almost want to view these time frames as like chapters in a book. The 4 hour time frame is trying to tell us part of the story. The 30 minute is trying to tell us part of the story. Now it may look a little bit different chapter by chapter, but ultimately each chapter is trying to tell the same story. We just got to be able to look at the chapters and try to put it together and go, okay, what is this book trying to communicate to us? What is this chart trying to communicate to us? And so we're gonna jump straight into it now. Uh, but my goal is today in this video is actually to teach you how to read the story. How do you read the story? Now, are you going to get the story right perfectly every time? No. Sometimes you might look at a chapter and go, "Man, this just doesn't make sense. How does this relate to the story?" And sometimes you got to wait a bit longer to see the chapter unfold. That is part of trading, is trying to decipher what the story is trying to tell us. So, we're going to jump straight into basically the basics of candles because I think this is so vital. You can be a successful trader by just looking at candles. That's it. If you can learn how to tell the story of what the candles are showing to us, you can be successful. Okay, first thing is this I need you to write down is a candle is basically revolves around wicks and bodies. So a wick is a skinny line here, and a body is the rectangle part. Now, when you're looking at these candles, uh, some things to note is that whenever you see wicks, that is communicating to us that price at some point went down all the way down to this level here, but then it got pushed right back up and closed up here. Now, we're going to talk about candle closures and opens very soon, just after this. But I want us to get this point is this candle here, for instance, we'll look at this candle. This candle here is showing us that it actually traveled quite a bit. If we look, it traveled about 27 ticks, and but it only closed within this range. So obviously this is kind of consolidating, but this showed us that price closed up here because on a green candle, the closures at the top closed. It would have either gone down or up at some point in the 5 minutes that this candle was open, and it only went up to the as far as here up and as far as here going down. So that's what wicks show. They show the distance traveled for each candle. Now, what do bodies show? Bodies show us pretty much the balance of the candle, where the candle is wanting to stay at. So this shows us that price wanted to go up, but really it closed here. It's happy. This is kind of a fair value area. Like this is where, uh, or not fair value. Um, this is like an area that buyers and sellers are happy to keep price at right here. Now, what are candle closures and opens? Now, candle closures and opens. So let's recap first. This is a wick. This rectangle is a body. Now, what are candle um, closures and opens? So when we're looking at the chart, a green candle means it's going up. Okay, a red candle means price is going down. Now it could change colors. Colors can be different. You can actually customize these colors, so it may look different on your chart. But this is a pretty universal color for charts. So green is usually up, red is usually down. Um, but if we look here, we know that every closed candle, so closed means that it's finished moving, it's finished its lifespan, it's on to the next candle. Every green closed candle, the closure is the top, the open is the bottom, right? Because, for example, this candle closed here, opened here, and traveled up, and then ended up closing here. Opened here, went down at some point, went up at some point, and then closed here. Open, closed. And then we have an open up here. Price did jump up a little bit when it reopened. So that's why it's not perfectly aligned with this closure. It opened here and ended up closing there. So that's how you get it. Opens for red candles are at the top, closures are at the bottom. Now, what are these candles trying to communicate? Now, when we're looking at price, as you can see here, we have a consolidating range. This is called consolidation when price is kind of bouncing in between two areas. It's not wanting to break out, it's struggling to break out. Um, and so that's what we would call consolidation. Okay. Um, and so what this is doing is it's actually communicating quite a lot. This area is communicating quite a lot. This is showing us by all these wicks that price tried really hard to push up, but then sellers came back in and said, nope, you're not going to push up. We're going to push you all the way back down to here. And so then what happened? Once this candle opened, did price come all the way back under this consolidating area? No, it shows us the buyers saying, nope, we're happy to keep price up here. We're not going to let sellers have control below here. So right now, this is showing us that both buyers that are here trying to push price up are not happy. Buyers are not happy with price going under this level, right? It tried here and buyers said, nope, we're going to push you right back up. But then this is also communicating to us that sellers are not happy for price to come any higher than this wick here, right? Or these wicks, because when it's tried to push up, sellers have said, nope, we're going to push it right back down. So this is the area both buyers and sellers feel like price should be at. Now, the second that buyers have a little bit more control and sellers start going, oh, okay, we don't have as much control anymore. There, we can see a big, strong bullish candle move up to here and a strong closure. Now, you could wait for a retest of this area, probably these, the bodies of these candles here, because this area would be considered more of the range price is happy to be in. These wicks are still considered is not happy to push up here anymore. It wants to stay within this box and it doesn't want to push any lower down here. So you could potentially, this could be a trade idea. Is once you get a buy here, wait for a retest there, aim for, what, 50 ticks. It looks like it just missed it. So this might be a break even trade. You could honestly aim for whatever you want. Um, but yeah, it's a break even trade. And then put your stop loss just underneath there for a 1-to-1. I mean, you could aim for a 1-to-1. That would be a winning trade, 35-35. Um, 35 ticks, 35 ticks. That just shows you by looking at just price action, you can place trades. You can learn how to place quality trades just by reading the charts. And when you look at this candle, this is called an engulfing candle. If you look, this is strong. This is, sellers tried to push it down. Buyers said nope. And they closed really strong. There's not that big of a top wick up here. So this shows me some exhaustion for sellers. Sellers are struggling to push this back down. If we have a big, big push here like that, like a big wick, that's showing me some massive exhaustion for buyers. But if you look, the candle closure did not close underneath this consolidating area. So this would not trigger a trade force at all. But this would say, okay, buyers are struggling to push this up. But then look what happened. This pushed really high and closed above our area. So this would indicate to us a very strong couple confluences that number one, um, we have a closure above this consolidating area. Number two, that it is a strong engulfing candle. Look at that massive engulfing candle. Number three is there's not a big top wick. This is showing us that sellers are really struggling to push below. This could be a solid play to go. I'm going to get in on this bounce. We're going to look for a bounce of this level, this consolidating area, and hope to target price higher. And as you can see, it was a fairly good play, and you wouldn't have been in drawdown long if you got in and maybe has come down, and maybe you could even put your stops underneath if you want to have a tighter stop loss. Put your stops underneath the halfway mark because price tends to like to bounce on the halfway points, as you can see. Look, bounce, 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 bounce. Um, and so that's a great play that you could be looking at. So that's how you kind of look at candles is reading. Okay, well, what are wicks showing us? What is it communicating? What are sellers really communicating to us with the market move candle and market structure? So I just want to remind you though, when looking at these kind of plays and trying to read the market, I will not read the market I'll only read the market based off of candle closures, right? You have to get this right. Write this down. You only read the market off of candle closures. The only time you're reading one single candle. So let's just, for instance, let's just replay this a little bit. Let's say this is what price looks like right now. We're not in a trade, but we've got three major confluences. The candle's closed, and now we're going, okay, do we want to enter this trade? Well, then we're on a 5 minute. We could hop into a 1 minute, right? We're in a 1 minute now, and let's just see how this plays out. So we're gonna, okay. So this is a strong close. Basically, it bounced. It's hard to show unless I had like the seconds, but I don't have the seconds on this. But what I would do, let's go back just so this isn't confusing. What I do is move to a smaller time frame, right? 1 minute, or you could even stay the 5 minutes. Sometimes I just stick onto the 5 minute. Um, and you're just all you're reading on this next candle open, right? Like I said, we're reading the story based off candle closures. But to get an entry, we need to read the candle that is live, right? So now the story's told us we're good for a potential buy. Now, to read the story live to get an entry, we want to watch how this candle reacts to this level. Now, you could potentially even play this 50% if you wanted to. This is a strong demand zone now. This is showing us that this is a strong demand zone. There's a lot of buyers in this area, somewhere in this area. So you could have played the 50% point and see how it reacts at 50% point. I would probably just stick here and make sure I have a strong enough stop loss or big enough stop loss. Um, but what I'm doing is I'm not trying to add this candle to the story at all. The story is already communicated the direction it wants to go to, in my opinion. What I'm trying to do is see if this candle wants to jump and follow this story. The way that I see that is how it reacts to this level or this level, whatever decision or level you're deciding to potentially put an entry on. Once I see it get to this level, then on a 1 minute, let's see what it does on this 1 minute. So as we saw earlier, we had a strong bounce. Now that is a great indicator already that this potentially could continue up. Even on that, you could get in on a candle closure on that. I'm a bit more aggressive as a trader. So if I saw it when it comes down and it has a little bit of resistance here and it's struggling, or maybe it comes down here and then it starts to push back up a bit more and then crosses this line again. So if it pushes down and crosses this line or gets back up to this level, I'm in. I'm getting a buy. Now, if you want to be a bit more um, conservative, take a bit less risk, you could wait for this 1 minute closure to confirm a bounce. When I say bounce, this wick, it tried to come down, but it bounced back up. A bounce in order to target your next level. And what I would potentially do is actually if you're going to go on and do an entry on a smaller time frame and play off the candle closure, I'll put your stop loss underneath that candle, aim for a 1-to-1. You could try 1-to-2. I would suggest a 1-to-1 to be honest. If you're going off this just to be conservative. This is only a 26 tick move. The goal here is to try to not be in drawdown. That's what you're looking for, is to try to not go back down into drawdown. Um, let's see if it wins. Didn't win. So this would have been a break even trade. But this is just a great example. This is a great example of just looking at the market, right? Now that's with no other confluences. That's not looking at any other time frames. That is just a 5 minute looking at a consolidating area and saying, okay, what is price wanting to do? Now, when you look back here and you see another way to read price is whenever you see, okay, we have a strong push up, it comes back and retraces a bit. And then we have a couple bigger green candles than this red candle. It closes above this area, and then bang, a really strong big candle. Here would indicate that price might want to continue up. You could put your stops underneath this candle and target a 1-to-2. There you go. That's a winner there. You're not really in drawdown for long. It's just a little bit, and then you're back up. Once again, this is just looking at candles. This is saying, well, what is price trying to tell me? We had a strong push up. We've broken above this level, this resistance. We've broken above again, and then on top of that, we have a huge candle. This is almost double the size of this candle here. So there might be a chance that price wants to continue up. It might want to continue up. Now you could add more confluences by looking at other levels and say, okay, there's a good chance that price will at least want to tap this level, come back to this high. And of course, it went higher than that high. But what are the candles telling you? If you take those kind of basic things that I just talked about, looking at candles, how big the candle is, the wick sizes, the body sizes, the closures, looking at kind of is it an uptrend? Is it consolidating? When it's consolidating, do we have a lot of wicks or is it really strong closures? What is it looking like? And trying to go, okay, well, what are sellers saying to me right now? What are buyers saying to me right now? They're giving you clues on when you should get in and out of a trade. Anyways, that is a basic breakdown. This is so vital to trading. Um, Watch this video a million times if you can. Get used to it, learn it, and this will really help improve your trading. So happy trading, and like always, if you have questions, feel free to put it in our Discord, and I'd be happy to help you out. Have a great day. See you soon. See you in the next one.